Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the MACE Podcast. I'm your host, Marco Macente, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today, our stop are the United States, and my new guest is Victoria Hill. Victoria has 15 plus years of experience in the human resources marketplace. She's skilled in all aspects of D&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, leadership development, and human resources management. Her focus is the human experience and building inclusive relationships. Victoria is currently working as the Senior Director of Global Diversity and Social Impact for Advanced Group. Victoria facilitates a lot of initiatives and programs in the D&I umbrella, from neurodiversity, conscious inclusion, till building inclusive relationships, where her team develop diversity programs to promote unbiased decision-making while creating a safe space for employees to thrive. You have understood. This special episode is focused on D&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, but not only, as we are exploring the intersection between D&I and the mental health, as in May we celebrate the Mental Health Month. Why can we speak about D&I and mental health at the same time? Where is the intersection? Why does it matter to speak about mental health nowadays for thousands of professionals working in the new workplace? And of course, what are the trends? What is the view of a senior leader like Victoria speaking about D&I in 2025 and beyond? Enjoy our conversation and stay tuned. Hello, Victoria. How are you? Welcome to the MACE Podcast.
Hello, hi.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm so honored to invite you and to have you as a guest. You are tuning in from the United States, is that correct, Victoria?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm so excited that we can say that the MACE podcast is more than ever international. So I am so honored to have someone from the other side of the planet joining me in the MACE podcast. And actually, this is a special episode, Victoria. I have already shared with the audience a little bit about your experience, a little bit about your background. You are a senior director of diversity and social impact at Advanced Group. So, of course, you are a senior leader and you are advocating for D&I matters in your company and beyond, and the audience will understand why. So this episode is entirely focused on D&I and of course on culture, which is something important, is a critical component for organizations and companies. And my first question that I have for you, Victoria, is about the mental health and D&I. So we are in May. We have made it dedicated entirely to mental health. So my first question for you is, why is there an intersection between mental health and D&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion? And why are we speaking about mental health today, Victoria?
Such a great question, Marco. Mental health and DE&I, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, as you said, are deeply connected. So when we talk about creating inclusive environments, we're not just talking about representation, right? Color or gender or race or ethnicity. We're talking about belonging, right?
Yeah.
Psychological safety and making space for people to bring their whole selves to work. And we're currently celebrating May being Mental Health Awareness Month. And at nearly every conference or conversation I've been a part of recently, there's a growing acknowledgement that mental health isn't just a wellness issue, it's a workplace equity issue.
Yeah.
Right? And across the board, we're seeing, underrepresented groups often experience a higher, mental challenges due to systemic inequities, microaggressions, that term, or, maybe code switching, or really masking their true selves.
Yeah.
And also, neurodiverse employees, they may face a stigma or misunderstanding, making it really difficult to feel like included or supported. So people, managing anxiety, right, depression, or trauma often don't feel safe, disclosing that to their leaders or asking for what they need. especially if their identity is also marginalized. So
Yeah.
when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we must also include that intersection that you mentioned of mental health,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't truly be inclusive if people feel like they have to hide parts of themselves that are struggling. So, when we're creating these inclusive cultures and we're thinking about these intersections, it means really promoting access to like mental health resources,
Yeah.
really normalizing conversations about emotional well-being,
Yeah.
right? And then training our leaders to recognize that whole person, not just the performer.
Yeah.
So inclusion without mental health support isn't really inclusion, right? The intersection is about really recognizing that thriving workplaces support both identity, like our identity, who we are,
Yeah.
and well-being.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for such a kind of uncomprehensive response, Victoria. I totally agree with you, and I'm so happy that we are here speaking about those important topics to let our audience feel the importance of these topics that more than ever matter for the professionals that are working around the world in the new workplace. We spoke about May. May is not just the month of the mental health, but is rich of other celebrations all around the world because, of course, we are celebrating the diversity that belong to our planet. And of course, we know that May is rich in terms of celebration and initiatives across DNI across the diversity, equity, and inclusion world. Which are some of them, if you would like to list any? And is there any particular celebration or initiative that touches you most, Victoria?
So there's so many celebrations around the globe,
Yeah,
right, that touch me. I always say if a celebration is important to you, it's important to me as well. And so in the United States, we have Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
yeah,
We have Jewish American Heritage Month. Globally, of course, Mental Health Awareness Month. We have Older Americans Month. And yesterday was even International Hummus Day, which is funny.
yeah,
But the one that touches me the most is probably mental health awareness.
yeah,
As someone who leads, diversity and social impact, and I frequently speak on inclusion, I've really come to understand that we can't talk about equity, that E in there, the equity or belonging, without talking about the mental, the emotional well being. So, inclusion means making space for that whole person that I keep talking about, right? Including the parts that we can't even see.
yeah,
So, we have to build these environments where people feel safe enough to say, I'm not okay, right? And feel supported enough to know that we'll be met with like empathy and not judgment. So,
yeah,
mental health awareness, that's deeply personal for me. I think back to a time when I was going through something like really personal, really emotional, right? But I still had deadlines to meet, meetings to lead, people counting on me. So I had to show up, smile, right? Get my work done. But inside, I was drained emotionally. And I never said anything. I just kept pushing through in silence because I thought I had to. And I know so many other people do the same thing. But now I work for a company that really values flexibility and well-being and putting people first.
yeah,
So I don't feel right now that if I was going through something that I'd have to like power through it at the expense of my mental health. So if
yeah,
I need time now to like reset, I can take the time.
yeah,
And that makes the difference because when we care for ourselves, we can show up better for our
yes,
teams, and families, each other. And so that's why Mental Health Awareness Month, it resonates for me. It's like
yeah.
a reminder, that I need to take time for me to rest.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Victoria. And if I can add here something, as human beings, we need to pay attention about our emotional sphere and to our emotional sphere. We have the emotional intelligence. We have, a lot of topics that psychology and other social sciences brought to the industry and to the literature to highlight how we as human beings, as humans, need to pay attention to our emotional sphere. So emotions play a pivotal role in what we do each day and may have an impact on what we do and on who we are. So I totally agree with you. Understanding how 360 degrees we can be humans, understanding that we need to have such an holistic approach in order to show completely on our total self. This total self can be reached if we pay attention also to this emotional sphere that you were talking about. And that's why, and we bring again the intersection that we mentioned before. There is an intersection with DE&I. And so I totally agree with you, and thanks for providing these insights, Victoria. Moving on, mental health, big topic again. It is very highlighted how this is important. And during these crazy times, I'm hearing how professionals all around the world want to get the mental health level. They wanted to feel better in the workplace. So why we touch that? But again, why speaking about mental health is more than ever important? Why does this topic matter for professionals all around the world?
Another great question, and really it's being highlighted now more than ever because I think we're finally acknowledging what we've probably always known to be true, that people can't perform at their best if they're not feeling their best, right? Like that emotional toll that you talked about of working through things like global crisis or like personal losses and really shifting expectations, right? All that shows up when we are at work. And so it tends to lead to burnout and disengagement, anxiety, exhaustion. And the truth is, many of us are carrying so many heavy things. We're just not talking about them, or at least we're not talking about it out loud, right? So I think companies are now starting to realize that caring for our mental health it's not just a nice to have anymore. It's really what we call a business and humanity imperative. So when people feel that psychological safety, if people feel like they're supported, they can truly be more creative and collaborative. So I think we're highlighting it now more than ever because we reached a breaking point, right? And a breakthrough, right? So we're not just breaking, we're breaking through. We're choosing now to lead with empathy. We're choosing to lead with flexibility and caring. And I think it's really long overdue.
Yes. So this is more than ever important. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you again, Victoria. We have a global crisis going on. We have two worlds. So we have things that that seems that they are far from us because maybe they are not based in our geographic area, or they do not pertain to our country or to our daily life, but actually in the so connected world in which we live, where relations matter more than ever, where connections matter more than ever. We have the social media. We feel connected more than ever. And as humans, we have this need to feel connected, to connect with others. And that's why we have empathy as a quality that has to do with DE&I and has to do with mental health. So we cannot skip this inner need that we feel from inside. It's like a whisper, right? That is speaking always to us. And if we keep this whisper, and if we want to silence this whisper, we come to what you highlighted before, to a breaking point, a breakthrough point where we are not feeling well anymore. So we need to pay attention to such a kind of issues or nuances that belong to our life in order to understand how the mental health is actually something important. 360 degrees in delivering what we need to deliver from a professional point of view, or in being what we are in our professional life. So definitely this is something that touches us completely and in what we do on daily basis. So thanks a lot for sharing, Victoria, also such a kind of insight. Now, deep dive, I want to ask you because when I first met you, I was astonished completely. I was completely amazed by your advocacy, by your engagement that you pursue, and of course that you bring in the DNI matters. Of course, that you lead an advanced group, but also that you do outside of the advanced group. Because of course, I follow you on LinkedIn, and it's amazing to see such a kind of things. You are a Black woman leader in an industry. And of course, many professionals that are working in the industry are female. But if we get to the leadership positions, we see that the percentage is going to switch. So, my question for you, related, of course, to DNI, how do you view equity and equality in our workplace? Is there an improvement, in your opinion, that we do and that we have got since the pandemic, for example, or are we still far from the justice that the equity and equality should take in our workplace?
Yeah, everything you said, it's not surprising. Um, and it isn't just a company issue. It's
Yeah,
really a global
yeah,
pattern, right? So it's across industries and across countries, right? Women are underrepresented in leadership globally,
yes,
right? And when you like narrow it, to women of color, even, like you said, I'm a Black woman. It's the numbers are even smaller,
yeah,
right? So, yes, to answer your question, yes, there has been progress, and I celebrate that, right? We're seeing more conversations and more women stepping into roles that once really felt out of reach for us. So, are we there yet? No,
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 of course,
but
no.
no, we're not there yet.
And that's why
But
we're
I
here,
do,
speaking about those
that's
kind
why
of
we're here.
topics, to raise the awareness. That's why we're here.
Right. Right, to raise awareness, right? And we have hope, right? And so we're now naming the gaps. So like your podcast, we're naming the gaps. We're closing those gaps, right?
Yeah,
And we're really redefining what leadership means. So to improve it, we need to do more to promote it, right?
yeah,
So we need to sponsor, we need to mentor, and intentionally build like these inclusive pathways, right? We need to really normalize flexible leadership models, right?
yeah.
And really elevate diverse decision makers. Because the future of leadership isn't really male or female, it's really about being inclusive.
Yes, I totally agree with you. So it's not just about it does not belong to a stereotype. It does not belong to a gender. It does not belong to a stigma. It is, I mean, the need to label every time, everything again is a human need, but we have understood that in order to be inclusive and in order to allow an inclusive workplace, I mean, we should not label everything around us. We should accept the things as per what they are and the people for who they are. And I think that this is the say of the new leadership, being inclusive, feeling inclusive, and of course, allow everyone show up with their total health or his or her total health in order to, show up as per the way the people want to show up. That's the best way, in my opinion, to let everyone feel inclusive, included, and of course to promote more gender equity and equality in our workplace. So thanks a lot for sharing those kind of insights. And of course, I agree with you. It's a global issue, and I hope that we are on our way in order to see more improvements moving forward. Now, I have almost ended up with my question, Victoria, but I have just my one question that I would like to ask you in order to let our audience be inspired also, again, with this question. Is there any last thought or is there any last quote that you would like to share with our audience, Victoria?
Yes. Well, I always like to tell you what I've learned over the years, so
Yeah,
hopefully it can benefit someone else.
yeah,
But I've learned that success doesn't always look like constantly moving, like that constant motion. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause, right? Take a breath, breathe, and give yourself the care you deserve. So
yeah,
that's why I advocate strongly for mental health and flexibility, because rest is resistance, right? And well-being is a leadership strategy.
Yeah.
So, if you're navigating your career, if you're leading a team, or just trying to keep it together some days, like, a lot of us are, don't forget that your voice, your lived experience, your presence matters. Keep showing up, keep speaking truth,
Yeah.
right? Don't be afraid to be first. Just make sure you're not the last.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, Victoria. Thanks a lot for sharing such a kind of lessons learned, of takeaway. I'm sure that our audience will treasure all these insights and, of course, the one that you have just shared. Thanks a lot for being a truthful guest in the MACE podcast. Thanks a lot for being yourself in the MACE podcast, Victoria. I have really appreciated the time spent together, and I wish you happy Mental Health Month, of course. Happy May, happy Mental Health Month. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you again, to connecting with you again, to celebrate more initiatives, more celebrations, again, D&I related. Thanks a lot, Victoria.
Thank you, Marco.
Speak soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.